Hey folks, Small Fry Aquatics live stream. I think we are live. I'm going to try and look in my monitor over here, and I'm going to tread water for a couple of minutes while I wait for some other folks to get here. All right, there we go. That's showing that that is up. Turn that volume down, otherwise we're going to have a mess. And you know what? I think I am going to get my headphones on here. Don't go away. All right, how does that sound to everybody? Let's see. Let's turn off the phone, otherwise it's going to be dinging the entire time. You guys hear me okay? Sound all right or reasonable? I know there's about a 20-30 second delay, so I'll wait for somebody to say they can actually hear me and that I'm not muted or any. Okay, Dragon Lair, thank you so much. All right, well, let me do a quick say hello to everybody who's here right now, and then I'm going to start into the reason for, the topic of the day, and then we'll get back into, all the stuff everybody wants to talk about. So Streetwise, hey, thank you for being here. Benny's Aquatics, hey. Bob Kaler, how you doing, bud? Sandy Dowdy, hello. Let's see. Benny, Sandy. Small Fry Aquatics, I'll say hello to myself. Dragon Lair, hey, man. Cichlets 23, hello. And that sounds like that's everybody who is in here right now. And so thank you so much all for being here. I really, really appreciate that. So let me tell you the genesis for this. I was listening to Aquafunk the other day, and he was doing a live stream with the basis sort of being on mental health and how the hobby can help you and stuff like that. And weighing in on that was All In Tanks with Ozzy and Tiffany Rose, who are really wonderful people. And I'm kind of just getting to know that whole trio, and I really like them a lot. And they brought up some interesting points about mental health and the hobby. And I thought it would be interesting if at least I thought it was going to be interesting to me. We're going to see whether it's going to be interesting to you. About how do you handle the hobby during difficult times. And I want to approach this in a couple of different ways. And I want to maybe do this desktop a little different so that I can actually, sort of glance up at you guys and not just read off of a sheet of paper. Difficult times. We are going through difficult times right this second. So we're still, in many ways, still locked into the house. We are still locked into the neighborhoods. Stores aren't open. Some are working from home. Some aren't working at all. Some are getting the bad news that they're not going to be working again. Jobs aren't coming back. And how do you deal with that? And how do you deal with that within the hobby? I guess more specifically. I mean, I certainly can't tell you how to get a job back or anything good like that. But so with that in mind, and with apologies that I didn't put this thing out a year ago, but and even being a risk manager, I went through this with H1N1, and we did everything we could to get people prepared for this back in the Obama administration. But this one came up kind of fast, and we were all very unprepared for it. So what's the thing you can do? Well, this is what I will tell you as a risk manager that we said back then was preparation, okay? And the way I put it was sort of almost like a Ferris Bueller line. Life will surprise you, okay? So let's see if we can't prepare a little bit. I mean, the Ferris Bueller line was life goes by pretty quick. You better enjoy it while it's here. I would just say life will surprise you. Every minute of every day could be a little bit different. The stuff we're looking at, or at least I want to talk about today, are health, and employment. So we know employment can come and go. And I'm here to tell you health can and will come and go as well. Even if it's not your personal health, it's going to be the health of people around you, people that you love, and people that are directly impacted by you. Um, and in addition, it's going to affect the hobby, your hobby as well, just from a time perspective and everything else. And when these odd times happen, the hobby's going to move into the background. And how do you make sure that the fish and your hobby doesn't suffer? And I'm going to tell you some of the things I did, and I'm going to give you a brief thumbnail sketch of my life for the past 3 years. And not to make you sad or anything like that, but for you to realize that I kind of know what I'm talking about here. So let's rewind to October of 2017. Now, my wife had a rheumatoid arthritis for a number of years, and they'd had her on prednisone for a very, very good amount of time. But nobody ever expected what was coming up. We were going out on a Saturday morning, and she'd had she was feeling as good as you're going to feel when you have arthritis. I mean, she did her art, hung out with her friends. We went to dinner, all of that. And she came down dressed because we were going to go to a miniatures show where people do miniature stuff. And she's kind of walking weird. I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I bent down to pick a piece of paper up in the library, which is the room I'm sitting in right now, which is right behind me." And she said, "When I bent down to pick it up, I felt a pop in my back." Okay. So she had a small amount of pain then. By the time we got back from the miniature convention, she was in agony. And it started a downward spiral, the likes of which you might not believe. But eventually, so what had happened was the prednisone had caused osteoporosis, which caused the spine to collapse, which caused pressure on the spine. In January of 18, she underwent spinal decompression surgery. There were other procedures that preceded that. But by the time that was all done, she was a paraplegic. Now, was there a chance she was going to walk again? That was the hope. And over the next year, she finally did get to the point where she could kind of take a few steps. But literally over the past 3 years, she was housebound, bedbound, and we had 2 different nurses coming in and out. In the meantime, I'm trying to run a fish business and a hobby and do all of the stuff that goes with that. I wish I could tell you that it had a happy ending, but it kept getting kind of worse and worse. And February 26th, she suffered a stroke, and then she died on March 9th. So I'm working my way back into it right now. And the way I did it is what I'm going to try and outline for you right now. And so here's what I did. And I had at least a chance to sort of come up to speed on this because I could kind of see her going down. And so obviously this works whether you're having a physical health issue, a mental health issue, whether it's your problem, whether it's a spouse or a family member's. And so what I did was I said, so what you have to do is prep for simplicity. You got to keep the hobby as simple as you humanly can. And so the first pieces that you have to get in order are, and I believe the number one most important thing in the tanks is water quality. More important than food, more important than literally anything else is water quality. Fish can live without food a lot longer than you think they can. Often when they're in flight from far off land before you get to your local fish store, they've been without food a week, week and a half, heading toward 2 weeks. When I ship fish, they are frequently in the wind for 2, 3, 4, and 5 days. We just prep for that. So it's not food, it's water quality, okay? And so remember that they don't need to eat daily. So here's the next pieces of the list. When you go into the fish room, and let's assume something really spectacular happens. You wind up with a spouse in the hospital. You've been down there for 2 or 3 days. You come back home. Now, oh goodness sakes, well, you got to tend to the house first. You got to tend to the dog if the dog is there, kids are. But eventually you're going to get to the fish room. What do you want to do? I want you to look for water clarity. Okay, I want you to visually look at it, see what it looks like. Do we have any dead fish in there? Is the clarity okay? Open the top, look for an odor there. If you've seen my video about stick your hands in the water, I want you to feel what it feels like. If you need to do a water change, do it. Make sure the temperature is okay. That would be the perfect time for the heater to fail one way or the other. Either stop working or boil the fish, right? Look for diseased fish. At this point, if everything's okay, feed lightly, all right? The next thing I want you to do is look for water on the floor. Look for anything out of the ordinary. Have the tanks gone down more than they should? This happened or that happened? The next step I'm going to tell you is if you can do this now, you will love yourself later. And I want you to try and automate as much stuff as you humanly can. If you can get yourself some auto feeders, those will be a godsend to you at times like this. If you can automate your water changes, so much the better. Okay, I never got to the point where I semi-automated it. So I used a vacuum pump to suck the water out, and then I put it back myself. So, it was faster, but it wasn't there. The automatic fish feeders were a godsend. And then you tune those down. You don't feed every day. You feed like maybe every 36 hours. Something like that. So that's the essentials of the hobby. Now, here's the next piece of this. If you're going through something significant like I was going through, or what I know so many people are going through, here's the thing that's first going to come in mind. First of all, you don't want to have anything to do with the fish. You really don't want to have anything to do with the hobby, and you don't want to have anything to do with responsibility. You've got a loved one in the hospital. You yourself feel like crap. You want to, hide under the bed. You want to, do all of this stuff, and it makes sense. So, the sentence I wrote down, the last thing you want to do is be responsible for anything. So here's what I want you to commit to, and this works, and I know because I did it. Commit to a brief review of your tanks on some kind of a schedule. Every day, every other day, maybe at midnight, maybe at 3 a.m. If possible, try and spend 30 seconds. And this is your own mental health. Look at one tank and one fish and just watch them go back and forth. This is going to be your moment of zen and your moment of centeredness, and probably the best medicine that you might get for the 5 minutes before that and the 5 minutes after. Okay. The idea is to give you a chance to take a breath, a few seconds with no expectations of anything. And then the last piece I want to give you, and you guys probably know me well enough. I'm not real Pollyanna about any of this stuff. Everybody will say, oh, it's going to get better. Here's what I'm going to tell you. It's going to get different. I don't know that it'll get better, and I don't know that it'll get worse. Here's what's going to happen. How you deal with it is going to depend on whether it gets better for you or it gets worse for you. Okay? And I hope that's useful, to everybody that's watching this. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it. I went through a list of people. I always thought this was fun to do. People, big famous stars and stuff like that who deal with a lot of stress too, right? They don't have a peaches and cream existence. And so here are famous people who are fish keepers. And I wouldn't for a second tell you that, they have a 5-gallon tank that they're chasing guppies around in. They got a crack team of people that are setting them up and tearing them down and doing all this stuff for them. But I still love the fact that they enjoy the back and forth of the fish. So check out this list. Thierry Henry, he's a soccer player. Chad Ochocinco, Nelly, Lady Gaga, Steven Spielberg, Tracy Morgan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kanye West, or Kanye, depending on how you like to say it, Ice-T, Mariah Carey, Dwight Howard, Usher, Madonna, Roy Williams, Dr. Dre. I only vaguely know who that is, but I have no idea what he's a doctor of. Wyclef Jean, Cher, Alyssa Milano, David Hasselhoff. Do not hassle the Hoff because he has an aquarium. Tyga, and I don't know who that is. Then someone named Ty Dolla Sign. I think it's Dolla Sign. Apparently it's Mr. and Mrs. Dolla Sign's son, Ty. And then you got Ludacris. So there's a lot of people that get the same fun from the hobby as the rest of us do. And so, all right, let me get back to the chat and see what's going on inside of there, see if there's any questions or if you guys have been amusing yourselves while I've been rattling on here. And by the way, I'll put up a link in a couple minutes here. Anybody wants to join me. And if I miss you on the comments, it's only because I'm old and, old and. Oh, Bob says, please give Craig a like. Yes, please give Craig a like. Sharon Miller, hey, how you doing? Championship Show Guppies. Hey, Steven. Hey, hope you're doing well down there in Florida. We're just about as hot up here as you guys are down there, but they promise us some moisture soon, so we'll see. Sean, OOTD, hey, how you doing, man? See who else is here. Kay Holiday, hello. Redfish, Bluefish, hello. And Sharky, how you doing? I think I caught everybody. And so I thank you all so much for stopping by. I really do. Let me put up the stream. Like I say, if you want to stop by, even for a short time, that'd be fine. Always difficult for me to, fill up this whole time here. Cichlids 23 says Dwight Howard already gave up his tanks. Sean picked them up and sitting in storage for like a week after they made it for him. No kidding. Well, I really don't know Dwight Howard. I do know that my family is from the South, and every time I hear anybody use the name Howard, that's not the way we pronounced it down there. It was always Hard. I had an Uncle Hard. It wasn't Howard, it's Hard. It's sort of like one long growling, group of consonants and stuff like that. So, let's see. Oh, I see. Catfish Terry's live. Well, that's where most of my audience went over there. And hey, if you guys have not gotten over to Sand Creek and Nathan's channel, if somebody could pop that up, that would be great. And subscribe to him. We're all trying to get him up to 1,000, and it would mean a lot to him and his wife, and and I, only because my wife passed do I feel like I can make dead people jokes, but it's not like Nathan's going to spam you with a bunch of stuff, so it's not really expensive to go over and subscribe to his channel. So oh, Dragon Lair put it up. Fantastic. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Kay sounds Irish. Well, let's face it, the South was sort of created by the Irish. That's who came over there and sort of peopled it. And then they got on the wrong side of the war. And I remember doing my 23andMe and my ancestry, and man, we had land and money and this and that. And by the time that war was over, we were, my ancestors were digging in a coal mine. So, Sean says, I read the bulk of tanked tanks within 6 months are removed, and a lot of the fish. Oh yeah, tanked. So my daughter's a real big fan of the tanked tanks, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if you got a, $1 billion and all that kind of stuff. What I have always wondered about is the success of the livestock and all the stuff that goes in there, but who knows? Cichlids 23 says he was at, I think, 590. I assume you mean I think you mean a 590 gallon tank. And if that's the case, mazel tov. I don't have a lot of interest in anything that big, I don't even want a 590 gallon bathtub, much less, or swimming pool, much less a fish tank. So. Let's see here. Remember Jimmy Butler's massive 75-gallon blaster tank? He was traded a week later. Yeah, Yeah, I was going to say I can't tell you much there. So Ciclet's 23, and Nathan's at 590. So we've got a ways to go. We got 410 to go. So anybody there who is not already a subscriber, please jump on. Anything you guys want to talk about, throw it in here. And like I say, if you want to join the chat, jump in there as well. Push this button right here. It is starting to get a little gloomy in my neighborhood. So if bad things happen, I'm going to show you something here too. Just I didn't plan on talking about this today. This is a Lee's box filter. I wound up getting 10 of these things. And I mean, box filter, what's so exciting about a box filter, And I was going to do just a video about it. And well, no, I'm not. I'm doing it on here. So, there's the box part. Kind of comes apart like this. You get a little base, that you sort of push in here, and I'll probably crack it if I keep screwing around with it. Okay, there you go. Base goes in here, and I'm already going to mod it by putting a piece of ceramic tile on the bottom, keep it weighed down. This is the inside, and so your fluff will go around here. And the way I do the filter media, so you can do a couple of different things here, not the least of which is figure out how to put this in correctly. You can put some gravel on the very bottom here to weigh it down. I prefer to have the ceramic tile in there. And then you put the cotton batting or the polyester batting. And what I do is I literally go off to the store and I find the cheapest pillow I can find, open that up and just start pulling handfuls of it out and put that in there. Now here's the piece I really like. And you're going to say, this is really weird. So they give you an air stone in here. And I know the air stone's going to go bad, within 6 months, but at least they give it to you. And they give you this little joining piece in here. I shouldn't say give, they sell. They also give this joining piece up here too. There will come a day when once the stone goes, you don't need any of this, but you can use this in other places. And now you have 2 of them. I will never replace this with another air stone. That's complete waste as far as I'm concerned. But put this together, and now you have some spare parts for another day. Where's my, actually went through the effort of writing it down, $5.89 online at the old Ken's Fish Room. So there's a speed tip for you if you like these. Now I've gotten back into breeding guppies, and these are awesome for 5.5s, 10s. Probably wouldn't go past that, maybe a 15. Then I'd upgrade to the slightly bigger one from that. But it all depends on what you're doing. So there you go. There's a 2-minute product review on Lee's filters. So let's see what we got going over here on live chat. I see somebody talking about shooting in the streets, which I absolutely do not want to have a conversation about. Yeah, bulk tanks. Sand Creek was at 559 when I just looked. Okay. Discount go down. I think it only went down 1. Oh, Bob says he has a bunch of them. Did a review over a year ago. Best performing vid ever. No kidding, Bob. Well, I mean, if you already did one, I don't. Oh, and Sharon says the same thing. Don't suppose I need to do another one. You guys are already buyers as far as that goes. Loves Lee stuff. OG products, you rarely hear about them, yet they're awesome and been around. They really, I just feel like I just, found a $20 bill on the street. I'm just that jazzed about them. So, so I agree with you there. Case says, I like the filters. I had my first proper aquarium 40 years ago. Well, so 40 years ago, 1965, that's all we had was box filters. And then they invented, and we went through this in a live stream not that long ago. We went to under gravel filters, and they did a great job. Don't get me wrong, But even now, I mean, there's still a place for all of these things. They just do a great job that way. So let's see. Yeah, so we're wondering about that tanked. Dragon Lair, lost your audio on the laptop. YouTube hates my laptop. It's slow to let me type and post. Back on the tablet. Okay. I assume the rest of you can hear me? Otherwise, someone would have said something, right? So the tanked show, I mean, it's an interesting one. It's every once in a while. So I'm in a unique part of Cleveland, so home of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Browns, almost have a football team, and the Indians and stuff. Okay, streetwise, thank you. And every once in a crazy while, I'll get a call from a rep from a sports figure. Hey, do you do aquariums? And could you do this? Could you do that? Could you? And I don't do salt, so I can't do that. And I don't do these. I just don't have the manpower to do these. Oh, thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. I don't have these. I don't have the manpower to bring in a 400-gallon tank or something like that. I mean, I have to go hire Big Rich, and I think he, out at Ohio Fish Rescue, and I think he's got a lot more things to do than to help me do that. So it is kind of interesting how the athletes want a lot of this stuff, but I did wind up doing something along those lines, and I went to one of the athletes' houses to talk about something, and I want to tell you it was a sound system. And it was weird walking into it. I mean, multi-million-dollar home, actually, with very little in it other than, like a bed in the dining room and a trampoline in the living room. Hang on a sec. Mute myself while I cough. And they wanted a big expensive sound system, down in the basement. I mean, there was nothing down there. And as I remember, they put the sound system in, and of course, I mean, it was just boomy as all get out. It was, like putting a transistor radio in the middle of an arena. All it's going to do is echo. And so they weren't excited by that. And I think that's my biggest concern about doing any of this stuff. I mean, on one hand, would I like the money? Well, at this point, I'm old enough that I can weigh off my time and my effort and measure it against the money and go, yeah, I don't want it that bad. And then when I know that somebody is going to be disappointed with the end result, then I really don't think I want to do that at all. And I see some of the tanks that these guys come up with on tanked, and they're round or they're horseshoe shaped or they're oblong, and I guess I just don't know where they're going with that. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I'm kind of, at this point, not all that interested in doing that sort of thing. Dragon Lair. Yeah, we were all using under gravel. Well, I wasn't using sponge back then. I don't know that they had come up with sponge at that point. We just had under gravel with little things of charcoal on the top of it. And I was talking to somebody, I mean, my first foray into breeding fish, we had full hooded reflectors with incandescent bulbs that literally boiled the water if you weren't careful. And so I bred betas. And boy, what a problem. I had no idea that, I knew that you had to separate them. I had no idea how early on you had to separate them. And I had no idea that the females were just as nasty as the males. And so I wound up, getting out of that pretty quick. So, let's go back to the chat here. Steven saying 90% humidity, 92 degrees. Oh, let's go to the map over here. Let's see what we got over here. We are at 88 degrees and 89% humidity. So probably like your days, Stephen, back in the Bronx, it just nothing moving in here. And I get a breeze every once in a while because I'm sort of out in the country, but this is, well, it's toasty. Ain't no two ways about that. Bob says, Pam has some great new cards up for auction tonight. Just posted 4 more for Patreon first choice. All right. I don't do Patreon. I don't know that I should. I'm barely kind of holding my own on live streams, but I hope she's doing really well with that. Kay's in the UK. Kay, where are you at in the UK? Just for conversation's sake. Streetwise used to do computer consulting for biz and residential. Saw some amazing houses, and while I wasn't jealous of the size, I really enjoyed seeing some of the craftsmanship. Well, I did too, and sometimes I was enjoyed seeing some of the crapmanship, because I'll tell you, sometimes these guys take. Well, I was having the house I live in. It's a very modest house, but we quote did have it built, and I remember the guy, trying to get through it. He goes, "Hey, we got to hurry through this. I got to get my team over. We got these $1 million houses, 2 developments over to finish up." And I thought, you know what? I'm giving you money. Okay, you stand here and finish this thing up. But it's really funny how those $1 million houses really attract the attention, and I don't know that they get any better workmanship that I got with mine. So I don't know. Let's see, Tom Patterson, 1945 Tropical Fish Guild. I was just plants for filtration, 7 hours of sunlight, blow air, and several times a day for displaced oxygen. Well, there are people, Tom, these days that still do the very same thing. They just, they use natural light, natural plants. They don't do anything else. What's my opinion? And they use dirted tanks as well. I mean, can you do it? Well, obviously you can, right? But in the wild, most of these fish have a steady current, bringing in new water and stuff like that. So I don't know that I would ever want to do that, but certainly you can, right? Let's see. Streetways, I can't remember seeing big tanks as a feature, though maybe once or twice. Yep. Bob, sponges weren't around until, yeah, exactly, Bob. Absolutely. Oh, K is Norfolk, seaside town. Gotcha. Got you. There are some just beautiful places there. I had this idea, Kay, when my wife passed. I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to do a complete lifestyle change. I'm going to move to the Cotswolds in England. I always had a romantic view of that whole thing. So I started checking around. Yeah, talk about pricey. No, we're staying in Ohio. The Cotswolds, I mean, it's absolutely 7 digits, and the first digit isn't a 1. So, yeah, it's a whole different world over there. Dragon Lair. Bob, I made my own, used dish sponges, natural sponges. You could get natural sponges in a bag. Yeah, you could. I do remember that. Yep. Sean, at least they got the work through trying to get the plumber to work on my shed. It is like pulling teeth just to even get them to accept the job, but then they still don't show up. Oh, I absolutely know that, Sean. I've got the same problem over here. I foolishly gave a guy, I think 50 to do the shutters on the front of my house. That was literally the only time I ever saw him. So, Bob, agree, Patreon. Also memberships. I've been a member of several and could have members now, but I can't meet the guidelines. Most of those I follow aren't either. Yeah, I don't even know about the membership. I mean, I'm miles off from, I think I'm sitting at like 300, and I suppose I could look right now, maybe 389 members, miles off from the 1,000. And I mean, do I worry? Well, I mean, I don't obsess over it, but I sure would love to be there. But and I'm not sure how you break through. My guess is that it goes in levels. I think you start off with, everybody you kind of know, and then they either jump on or they don't. And then somehow you get like outside of that in the United States. And then I'm thinking there must be this Mendoza line where you sort of, break in maybe Europe or Asia or Australia. I mean, it's got to be something like that. It must have to grow in levels, but I don't know exactly how to do it. And my bet is I've talked to, I had Rachel O'Leary's ear one time, and like she said, well, I just kind of kept doing what I was doing. And you're right, it is in levels, but I don't know how I did what I did. In many cases at those higher levels, like she was friends with Joey, that helped a little bit. But then the question would be, well, how the hell did Joey get there? Was it just time or, so who knows, Stephen, the lease filter is okay if you remove the air stone. Oh, Stephen, you don't like the air stone. Tell me more. Why do you not care for the? I mean, I know once the air stone clogs up, I'm not going to bother with it anymore. Why do you not like it from the beginning? Because I won't bother putting it on if you've got a good thought about that. Bob says I think it's sponge filters for the arc and everything at $1. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Sean says might have the electrical sorted, knock on wood. So hopefully that'll be completed soon. Still trying to get the plumber. Yeah, I got to tell you, in some cases, I'm finding out it's better off for you to try and figure out how to be the plumber than try and hire the plumber. Tell you, I don't know. Bob says OG ideas are awesome. We had to make do back then. Yeah. We did, and we didn't know any better. We didn't know what we didn't know what we didn't have, you know. We just kind of cobbled it together, you know. Kind of like, and we loved it. We couldn't get enough of it, you know, like the old joke goes. Bob says, Sean, the plumbing has gone on forever, it seems. I know you'll be glad to finish. Oh, yeah, that plumbing can drag on and on and on. So let's see. Let me mentally take you through the fish room. I didn't set up the camera. I'm going to do that next time. The plecos are well. The zebras are, still no closer to breeding than they ever were. They're pushing about 3 years old, which is right around when they begin to start to spawn. And they're dancing around, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was more toward fall or winter. Bristle noses are doing good. 397s are doing well. All the fry are growing out. My 333s are breeding really, really well. Now, here's the dichotomy. My L333s are about 2 to 3 inches long. Typically, they're the same, not typical. Okay, let me back up. The 333 and the L066, the King Tiger, they've done DNA tests and they are exactly the same fish, but they don't look a thing alike. And it's a combination of different collection points and different things like that. My 066s are 6 to 7 inches long and have not spawned. My 333s are 2 to 3 inches long, and they're probably on their 4th or 5th spawn of the last 7 months. Don't ask me why or how, but they don't spawn a lot. You get about a dozen eggs and probably 10 fry out of them. And, so they're doing well. What else? So I've got short fin super whites that look like they're getting close. I had 9 of them that I brought in from overseas through a very surreptitious route. Out of that, 5 remain. They're a very, very fragile fish. I've got 3 for sure male. 1 I'm pretty sure is a female, and then a smaller one that looks like she's coming up as a female. So if I can get those guys spawned, I would consider that a good day. And then the guppies, I'm kind of just getting my legs under me with those. I've got, a handful of strains going. I'm probably 3 months into that, and I'm working real hard to follow all of the recommendations that like Steven has on his website, Championship Show Guppies, and on the IFGA website. So, keeping each drop separate, culling the way you're supposed to, feeding the way you're supposed to. And I'm very encouraged with the results I get there. It's really interesting from a guppy perspective how some are very, very, very prolific. So like the blues that I've got, and pretty much everything I've got, I got from Steven. And the blues, holy cow. I mean, when they drop big, they drop often. Then you go the other end of the scale, the reds drop less often, and they're less prolific with what they drop, but the quality is up there too. So it's real interesting how that goes. And I haven't been into guppies really since like the 70s or so. And so I'm really enjoying doing this, and can't wait to see how it's all going to kind of play out, and how they're all going to look at adults. But it takes quite a few tanks. It's probably between 4 and 6 tanks per strain to really do it the right way, keep things separated out, and then be able to strengthen the line. And then my other exercise is, learning the IFGA standard, kind of sitting there with the diagrams and comparing the fish. You get a few of them into a specimen cup. What about you? What about you? For sure. Okay, I can move along. You too, maybe not, So all of this just is a real good learning experience, and I'm enjoying it. So let me go back to the chat here. A lot of you guys are having fun talking about plumbing and sewer lines. Let's see. Bob's saying you have to pull the air stones up in the barrel a little bit, or they bubble out into the media. Oh, I think snipped the tubing a bit. Okay. Let's see what else is going on here. I guess that is about it. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I am starting to run out of things to run my mouth about. I'm going to put up the link one more time if anybody wants to come up and talk about anything, or if you have any questions, just go ahead and add them to the chat, and I would be happy to talk about them, or encourage others to talk about them as well. Let's see. What else is going on in the fish room? I think that's going to be about it. Like I said, been a quiet week. What spawning is continuing. Oh, I know what I did. Oh my God. Talk about an amateur error. So I run all of my water through a triple filtration system. I got a sediment filter, 2 carbon filters, blah, blah, blah. And when I'm putting it into the regular tanks, I don't run it through the reverse osmosis filter. I just put it in the tank. So, I get a reasonable stream, but I did a 50% water change on my 40 breeder tank that I have my Queen Arabesques in. And I clamped it up, and I went upstairs, and a friend came to the door, and usually it takes about 20 minutes to do the tank. So she and I talked for a long time. She wanted to make sure I was okay, brought me something to eat, all that kind of stuff. It's literally an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours later, and I go, I forgot about that tank. And I go running down there, and I got a lake in the basement. There is a lake to the point of, so I turn all the fans on that I possibly can, stop the water. I would tell you that 40-gallon breeder tank easily got, a 4 or 5 times water change. So all of the fish are fine. The temperature was okay. It wasn't all that big of a deal, but holy cow, talk about rookie mistakes. But so that's all by way of saying we all make them, So let's see what we got going on in the chat here, and that is probably about it. So I'm going to not prolong the agony here. I am sure that Bob is up next after me, although I did not check onto the Facebook page to be sure. So Streetwise, I got used leak detection kit for my Apex for insurance. Well, that's the thing. I'm down in the basement, and if it got high enough, it would just go over the lip of the sump pump. It's just that it's one of those you start slopping around in your sandals, and I'm really more worried about fish going over the top and stuff like that. But that wouldn't be such a bad thing for me to get. So and that was the other thing I was going to, well, too late to talk about the beginning of the live stream at the end of the live stream. So anyway, I hope you all go join Bob Kaler. I'm going to go try and find myself some dinner, and I will come and join him later. Typically, there's 13 live streams on Wednesday. This one's usually only 4 or 5. I'll see you on some of the later ones, I think. I want to thank you all for coming here and supporting me. Please hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, I wish you would be. Hit the bell notification. If you could get all of your friends and family and everybody else into a headlock and subscribe to me and subscribe to Nathan at Sand Creek, I would appreciate that as well. And I think that's going to do it. We're about 45 minutes into it. Y'all have a good week. I'll see you next week on Wednesday and hopefully come back with another topic that interests you or doesn't interest you, but interests me. Okay. Hey, take care. Thank you all. See ya.